Hello there. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. So this is our Wisdom Wednesday. Wednesday Wisdom with Devin. Too bad my name doesn't start with a W. That could be really fun. So I am hopping on here today to talk about one of my most favorite concepts. This concept has really been like life-changing for me. And I don't like to say that all that often, right? I think people throw that around all the time. Oh, it's life-changing. Oh, that was life-changing, life-changing. And I feel like it's something that should be said when it's meant, like I love you, right? Things that we should keep and say when we really mean them. So I mean this about this concept that I'm going to share with you. It really has been quite life-changing because it has helped me to kind of neutrally observe things. And it's changed the lives of many of my clients. It's a way for us to simplify the change process, and it's a way for us to really bring a sense of neutrality to the change process. Oftentimes when we're working with old habits, or in this case, what we're talking about today, life on the other side of anxiety and burnout and health challenges, there's a lot of emotion that comes up with that. A lot of emotion. There's a frustration and anger and impatience. And there's this belief that there's something wrong with us. We're doing something wrong. It's my fault that I'm anxious all the time because I'm just too sensitive. It's my fault that I'm burnt out because I just can't cope with life. Like I can't do life. And so there's a lot of charge. And when there's a lot of charge, it prevents us from seeing things clearly. And it prevents us from actually doing what's necessary to make changes, to shift and to heal all of the beliefs and the choices and the actions that are creating this anxiety and this burnout and these health challenges. Yeah. And so when there's this charge, change is really hard to make because we're too caught up in all the emotions. We're too caught up in the blaming ourselves, the internalizing it and making it something about ourselves. We're caught up in the impatience and the frustration and the anger. So we're going to explore that today, and we're going to unpack it. And by the end of today, you're going to be able to look at these things with greater neutrality and to be able to, from that place, actually make some changes, right? Get off of this cycle, this wheel of like blaming yourself and then feeling defeated and then trying to throw more solutions at these things that you think are problems, right? And it's just like driven from a place of like desperation and angst and frustration. Do you get what I'm saying? Have you experienced this? So life on the other side of anxiety and burnout and poor health, what does that look like? What does that even mean for many of us? And this could be you right now where you are. For many, we don't even realize that we are anxious. We don't even realize that we're constantly burnt out and living on E, right? Like empty gas tanks, living on E. Most of us don't even realize that those symptoms, the ways that our body is trying to communicate that it does not like the way that we are currently doing life, many of us don't even realize that like that's what's happening because we have just normalized all of it. We just kind of accept this like kind of baseline crappy feeling, whether it's the anxiety, whether it's exhaustion, whether it's not being able to sleep because we're constantly thinking, whether it's really poor digestion, whether it's imbalanced hormones and menstrual irregularities, like our period is irregular, our period sucks, right? Like what is your body telling you right now? What are your emotions telling you? What's happening in the mind, right? Like so many of us just think that this is just how it is. This is normal. We normalize it. And so many of us don't even realize like, oh, there's something on the other side of this. There is another way. Right. So like if that's where you are, you're like just starting to maybe kind of realize like, huh, I am really freaking anxious like all the time. Or I am overthinking all the time. Right. And starting to realize like maybe it's not because I'm sensitive or there's something wrong with me or I'm such a person that feels so deeply. So wherever you are, whether you're like, nope, I know I have this, I'm ready to turn it around, or you're just kind of like, wow, yeah, maybe this does actually suck and there could be something else. Like wherever you are, right? It's wonderful. And what I'm sharing today will still apply to you. So life on the other side of these challenges. Here's the thing I want you to consider. So these are these two principles that I'm bringing forth today. We are what we do consistently. We are what we do consistently. So the things that we do consistently, whatever energy they have, whatever charge they have, that's what we're bringing to our lives. Right? So perfect example, those people that are like super intense and like, you know, maybe they're kind of like adrenaline junkies or they're like constantly pushing their bodies to the limit, like lifting really heavy all the time, just living like a super intense lifestyle. Those people are also like really drawn to more intensity, right? They probably drive really fast. They probably really enjoy like violent, fast-paced action movies. They probably really enjoy like fast, loud music. They probably really enjoy you know, debating with others. It's just like, so this cycle starts to create, right, where we are what we do consistently, and that's what we start to want more of. We want more of it, and maybe it's not always like a conscious choice, right? And so for us on the more sensitive, deep feeling spectrum, a lot of us try to numb out of that and energize ourselves with like caffeine or other stimulating activities, scrolling constantly on social media, short attention spans, right? Just like constantly trying to like be on the go, hard for us to sit still. So we don't want to like be still. We don't want to feel, we don't want to do these things. So we start to do the opposite, right? We bring the chaos energy. And so we are what we do consistently. Maybe, well, I think I've given enough examples. Let me know if this makes sense. If you want more examples, I can keep throwing them your way. So we are what we do consistently, and we're gonna kind of crave more of what we do, right? It's the same thing like with what we're eating. When we're eating things that make us feel crappy, like we kind of, it like starts to become a cycle, right? Like we kind of crave more of that like heavy, crappy feeling. And so this is a good thing, right? You're probably like, well, this sucks. Like, how do we break this? Stay with me. Stay with me. It's beautiful. And you're going to be like, wow, this is amazing. So it's a great thing because that tells us something. That tells us that we're really quite responsive and quite adaptable, right? So if I'm doing these things and then I'm wanting more of them and I'm becoming what I'm doing consistently, all we need to do is like make a little change, get off of that train, right? Break that cycle and hop on a new train and create a new cycle. Yeah. So how do we do that? Right? This is where we can really start to bring in that neutrality that I talked about. Because when we're on the cycle of doing things consistently that aren't bringing us the result that we want, and yet we're kind of like stuck there, which is a totally natural part of being a human. Congratulations, right? Kind of getting stuck in cycles. And we know that we are what we do consistently. We know what we do consistently, we're going to start to crave more of, even if it's causing us harm, because it's just this energy that we've created that like wants to feed on more of that energy. Yeah. So this is where we get really frustrated with ourselves, right? Why can't I stop doing this? Why am I doing this again? What is wrong with me? Right? Who's been there? I have been there. Been there throughout my lifetime. When I was a super high functioning alcoholic, right? Like, why can't I just stop drinking? I want to stop smoking. Why am I still going for the cigarettes? Right? I want to take better care of myself. Why aren't I going to exercise when I want to exercise? Why am I stuck in this cycle? Like, we get so frustrated and we start blaming ourselves, and we start just like letting that energy, right? That emotional, the story attached to it, feed that energy more. And so then we're like wanting to do more of that thing to like punish ourselves. It's this whole like psychological mind fuck. Excuse my language. Sorry, not sorry. I'm a sailor. Not really, but I curse like one. So we get very, very upset with ourselves. Very upset. And start to blame and shame. And so this is where we can start to reel ourselves in and look at this principle, this other one that I'm bringing in today. So we have this notion of like, we are what we do consistently, and like attracts like. And so this other thing that I'm bringing forth is this principle of cause and effect. So simple, so beautiful. Gets you off the hook, gets you to be blame-free and shame-free, right? Cause and effect. So I have an input and I have an output. If I know that staying up all night watching Netflix, right, is a cause, okay? That's an input. We're putting this into our system. I know that the effect the next day, I'm going to be tired. I'm going to be groggy. My anxiety is going to be through the roof because I'm sleep deprived. Then I'm going to want to have coffee to keep me awake, to give me an extra boost so I can get through the day, which makes my anxiety even higher, which really doesn't agree with my body. So then my health challenges show up. My stomach is a wreck, right? Then I don't sleep well that night because I was jacked up on caffeine, and the cycle continues. And we crave more of it because that's where we are. And then we blame ourselves, and that's where the shame comes in. So when we can take ourselves away from that and just look at like cause and effect, input, output. I put in coffee, I feel like shit. I put in staying up past a certain time, watching TV, I'm going to be tired. And I don't like that. So it gets rid of all the like the middle part, right? The middle part of that sandwich, where we want to make ourselves really bad, and we want to blame ourselves, and we want to tell ourselves things like we're weak, we don't have enough willpower, and there's something wrong with us. Like, no. You are an energetic being living in an energetic system. Everything that is around you also has a certain energetic signature, right? Like the foods have different, like this food can make a peaceful feeling in you. This food can be overly stimulating. This food might make you feel like shit because it's not actually food. It was made in a laboratory, right? Being around technology has a charge. It's very stimulating. Being in nature, calming. So everything has an effect. Everything has its own special flavor that it imparts upon your system and creates an effect. So every input, everything we receive, everything we take in, everything that we do creates an effect. So when I can start to just look at things like, when I do this, when this, then that. And so what that do I want? What is the effect I do want? To feel rested, right? I know when I do this, I stay up past my ideal bedtime, and I have coffee the next day, messes with my sleep some more. I know that is a cause that creates a very shitty effect. So if I want this effect to be well rested and energized, this input, this cause that works on this effect needs to be something different, And so what do we bring in? We bring in the opposite. We bring in the opposite quality. So to keep going with this example of the Netflix and the coffeeing, two highly stimulating substances, very stimulating energies that are going to be incredibly stimulating. Did I mention they're stimulating? So the opposite of stimulating would be Bueller. Bueller. Anyone? I love talking to myself. It would be peaceful, calming. Yeah. So maybe that Netflix watching becomes a bath. Maybe that coffee becomes herbal tea, right? So we bring in this opposite to bring about a greater sense of balance and wholeness. And again, like I was talking about the other day, balance is, just as a reminder, is not a fixed, rigid place to get to. It is a flowing, always shifting and moving place. So this notion of trying to get to balance, because then we're going to get there and stay there, let that go, because that's a myth and that is toxic. We talked about that on the spring equinox. Balance is bullshit and unattainable. It's this fluid place that we're kind of dancing with, right? So we need to stay mindful and aware of ourselves and our needs and our tendencies. And, you know, sometimes this is easier said than done, right? It's easier said than done to look at cause and effect and to bring in something different, right? Like, oh, okay, Devin, I've had this like lifelong problem that you're telling me like, oh, I can just bring in the opposite thing and look at cause and effect. Well, gee, thanks. Like, I'm sure it's that simple. I hear you. It is that simple, and it's also that complicated, right? Because there is stuff in the way. There is still those emotions and those thoughts and those beliefs and those stories. And as you've heard me say time and again, and I will repeat it until the day I die and then etch it to my tombstone. The root cause of why the anxiety and the burnout and the overthinking and the poor health and this like belief that there's something wrong with you and you're too sensitive, like, no, the root cause of all of that, the root cause of why life as a sensitive, deep feeling person feels so fucking hard is because of unprocessed and unacknowledged shame and a weak foundation of self-care, specifically genuine, sustainable self-care that's aligned with nature's rhythms and really addresses all 5 elements of your being. So we're kind of talking today about like living lifestyle self-care type things, right? Like making changes, looking at what we do consistently that's creating the results that we're having in our lives, whether favorable or unfavorable, looking at cause and effect, talking about change. We're talking a lot about lifestyle health kind of things today, right? And so there might be, if this is still feeling hard after you kind of work with what I'm sharing today, there's probably an element here, not probably, like I'm going to go ahead and say there is an element here of unprocessed and unacknowledged shame that's preventing you from making these changes. And we can talk about that at a different time. For now, I really invite you. So like, let's just do like one last little example together. I invite you to think of like your main biggest challenge right now, right? Is it anxiety? Is it not sleeping well? Is it frustration? Is it some health challenge, right? Like what is really, really here? And then kind of work it backwards, right? Like, what am I doing consistently? What do my days and my life look like? What things am I doing consistently that match that, right? So like for anxiety, there's probably a high degree of overstimulation in your life, like without a doubt, high degree of overstimulation. Too much technology, screen time, bright lights, artificial lights, lots of music, stimulants like caffeine, chocolate, things like that, like a lot of stimulation, maybe a lot of travel, not a lot of sitting still. So these things match this frequency of anxiety. If you're exhausted all the time, I'm going to go ahead and say you're probably doing way too much. Your plate is way too full. Where can there be less? And it could also be like energetically in your mind, where can there be less? Like you're probably putting a lot of pressure on yourself. Yeah. You're having tummy problems. I'm going to go ahead and say it's most likely what you're eating, but more than that, it's like how you're eating and how you are or are not digesting, not just what's coming into your mouth, but in the rest of your senses, your experiences of life. So really feel into like, what's my challenge? What other things in my life am I consistently doing that match that frequency, that match that the way that this challenge makes me feel? And then looking into, okay, so this is the cause and this is the effect. This is what I'm doing. This is how it is resulting. What do I want? What result do I want? And what is the input? What is the cause, the new thing, the different thing that has the opposite quality that will bring me the result that I want on the other side of anxiety or of exhaustion or of this health challenge? So defining what that looks like, defining if I'm anxious all the time, I want peace. I want to feel calm. So what are those calming things I'm going to bring in that have the opposite quality to bring in more balance and that are a different cause to bring about a different effect, a different result? Right. And so then we can like let go of things like lashing out at our partner because we're overstimulated and impatient, or, opting out of certain aspects of life because we're just too anxious, or feeling ourselves like constantly crumbling under all of these perceived pressures that life has. So work with that. Let me know how that goes. My two most favorite concepts: like attracts like, opposite will bring about a greater sense of balance and wholeness, keeping in mind that balance is not a fixed place to be. It's not a rigid destination that we're like, get to balance and then all is going to be good. No, it's a place that's flowing. So it's really important to know ourselves and to be adaptable. So like creates like, opposites bring balance and wholeness. We create what we do consistently, and the principle of cause and effect to get yourself off of the hook, to get out of this like really emotional charged place and start to look at things a little bit more neutrally, where we're not blaming and shaming ourselves. And keeping in mind though, that there is most likely, definitely, yes, this element of unprocessed shame that is at the root of your challenges. And if you would like to explore more of what that looks like, I invite you to come check out the InnerSpark method, because that is what we do in there, my dears. We explore. It is a whole person, trauma-informed, beautiful experience of looking at and identifying and processing unacknowledged shame, while simultaneously kind of recreating a foundation of holistic, lifelong resilience building self-care that is all aligned with nature's rhythms and nature's wisdom, because that's how we heal. That's how we have this really robust, radiant, healthy life that we all deserve and that we are totally capable of creating. And from there, sensitive deep feelers can really share their amazing, heart-centered, wise, empathic gifts that they have to share with the world that like needs them now more than ever. So come check that out, theinnersparkmethod.com. Let me know how all of this goes for you, and I will see you next time. Mwah. Thank you so much for being here.